Apparently, we're live. A very good evening to you. Welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. I'm Anthony Murphy. This is the live Irish Myth series. We have reached episode number 150. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Tonight, we are talking about whether the pre-Christian Irish had a belief in an afterlife or whether they believed in metempsychosis, otherwise known as reincarnation. Hope you enjoy what's coming up. If you're watching this evening on either YouTube or Facebook, please feel free to say hello. Drop us a comment and we'll give you a mention. We are simultaneously streaming on the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel, on the Mythical Ireland Facebook page, and on the Mythical Ireland community on Facebook. You're all very welcome. It is a lot darker at this time than it has been lately. It is just 8 o'clock and the sun has gone down. It's quite cloudy. That doesn't help, of course. Karen Gogus is the first in the house tonight. Hello, Karen. It's always a pleasure to see you, our 3D artist who brings ancient sites back to life. Now, one thing I need to do is go onto the Mythical Ireland community page on Facebook, because for some reason Melanap doesn't like showing the comments from the Mythical Ireland community. There's somebody in Colorado who is undoubtedly, is that Joe? Is it? Yes, that is Joe Butler. All good this side, Joe. Hope you can say the same thing. How are things with you? Oh, geez, suddenly no comments and then suddenly loads. Annette is it Annette? How do I pronounce your surname? Is it Perd or Peard? Please, perhaps give me some guidance. It's a pleasure to see you again from the lofty heights of Tara, beaming into the Boyne Valley this evening. Paul Campbell is saying, wow, 150. I remember episode 100. And that's Paul in Galway City. Brilliant stuff, Paul. Welcome along to the live stream. Barbara Barney is in the house. Hello, in the library even. Hello, Barbara. Robin Rickman is in Pennsylvania. Hello, Robin. You're very welcome. And thank you for sharing the photos. The dog got the posting tube from the High Man poster. Brilliant. Maureen Farrell is in Rhode Island. Hello to the smallest of the states. To the smallest of the states from the smallest of the counties in Ireland. From the wee county to the wee state. Good evening to you. Daisy Peters is in the house. Hello, Daisy. Always a pleasure. One of our regulars. Mark Gordon is in Iowa. Hello, Mark. Good afternoon to you. Welcome along. Catherine Woodruff says hello. Hello, Catherine. Happy 150. Who's that? I can't even see that comment. Somebody's saying happy 150. I apologize. Can't see who that is. Helen Hirsch Chatters is in the house from South Dakota, where it's midday. Good afternoon to you, Helen. Hope you're well. Janet Moran tells us that it's perfectly beautiful in sunny Boston. Hope you and all the two are well. Well, I can only speak for myself so far, but all in good form. Lillian Cruz is in the house. Falcha, Lillian, great to see you, along as it is Anne Scott Doherty, who's in Grants Pass in Oregon. Hello, Anne. Good afternoon to you, just about. And Mandy McCurl is on a twilight Isle of Mull. That place sounds very mystical altogether. Peter Kennedy is saying hello from Ballybrigeen or Balbriggan in County Dublin, only a few miles down the road from us here. Good evening to you, Peter. Hope you are keeping safe and well. Kelly Nikiali is in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest in USA. And of course, if you don't know where that is, that's where the Boeing company makes its planes. Terry Lynn Zacharias is in the house from Colorado. Hello, Terry Lynn. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you are well. Welcome along. It's great to have you on the live stream. Catherine Marion Moore, apologies, the I know, what a place to put a camera tripod. Great to see you again. Looking forward to this subject. Brilliant stuff, Catherine. Hope you enjoy it. Nick Eska Casterton is in the house. Good evening to you. How are all in the Casterton household? Hope we are all in good form. Barb Jordan is in the house. Hello, Barb. Welcome to the live stream Archaeoastronomy database. I've hiked to the top of a mountain, but actually have a clear enough signal to stream. Evan, hope you're well. Brilliant. Wow. That's line of sight stuff. That's what that is. You know, the microwave transmissions, the UHF. Oh, excuse me. Don't start that, Anthony. Susan Scott is in Connecticut. I've missed a few episodes. Oh, where'd you go? But I'm happy to be here with you. Looking forward to this. Brilliant stuff. Susan, welcome back. Always a pleasure to see you. Brendan Byrne. I have a feeling this episode will raise many questions. Can't wait. This may be the first of 2 or 3 episodes, by the way, on this subject. Robin Edgar says bonjour. Hi from Montreal, Quebec. Anthony, I'm sure you have a pretty good idea of what my take on Rebirth is when it comes to the Rebirth symbolism that is perceivable in the Boyne Valley Passage tombs. Oh, yes. I'm more than familiar with that, Robin. I think you've reiterated it a few times, shall we say. Someone else saying bonsoir is Sandrine Brady, who is still in beautiful. It's still beautiful in France, and I presume you're still in beautiful France. Lovely to be with you all again. Great pleasure to have you along, Sandrine. Welcome. Joe Butler saying she's in the community page, but she's going to switch over to the main page. That's okay. That's the only difference, is if you make a comment on the community page, your name won't show up. Adina Sparks is saying it's sunny in New Mexico. Brilliant stuff. Good afternoon to you, Adina. Welcome along. Desiree Riley's in the house. So good to be here. I've missed everyone the last few weeks. Yeah, I mean, the feeling is definitely mutual, Desiree, but you're very welcome along. Hope you're in good form and life is treating you well. Lexi Erickson can't stay, but that's okay. You can catch up later on and you'll get a friendly wave anyway, all the same. No problem at all. Thanks for letting us know anyway. Anne McCallum says hello. Hope everyone is doing well. Another great topic today. I hope it's enjoyable. Yes, indeed, Anne. Welcome. Welcome. Robin says that I am just over halfway done with Mythical Ireland, and it is a wonderful read. I'm learning so much. Don't forget that the last few copies are here and currently working on the update, which is due out in November. And yeah, I'm nearly finished, actually, the material for the update. Jackie McCandless is saying hello to everyone from, is it Stroud or Strood? Stroud. I'm not sure. Good evening to you, Jackie. Welcome along. Lexi Erickson. I sent you a message today. I hope you got it. Nope. If you're trying to just on that subject, I'm always saying this. Just the very best way to contact me is on email, and that's mythicalireland@gmail.com. A lot of people try to reach me through Facebook messaging, which I find very unreliable. Some people try to reach out to me on my personal account, even though we might be friends, and those messages don't often come through. And there's a lot of traffic on the Mythical Ireland Facebook. So the most reliable way to get an answer from me is on email. So apologies if I didn't get back to you, Lexi, but I'll check that out when we're done. I thought that said Islander, but it's Iskander Fionn McCall. Slán Chua André Berbua. You're very welcome. Thank you for saying hello. And I'm not sure if you're calling yourself Andre or whether you're referring to me. If you're referring to me, I insist that no, you just call me Anthony. Lexi is saying that Mull is magical. I haven't been, and I must. What's your first name again? Erica. Yes. Is it cool, sunny, and misty Ipswich, Suffolk? Well, I presume it's not sunny anymore, but yeah. It's been a very, very dull couple of weeks here in Ireland. Really kind of need a few sunny days to burn off the clouds again. Marianne, Laura Herbert is in the house. Hello, Laura. Welcome along. Mariana Dunn is in the house from Alexandria in Virginia. Good evening to you. Good afternoon. Shirley is in Israel, and thank you for your generosity. Always glad to share with a listening audience who appreciate the material. Porrick Byrne is Mount Mellick in County Laois. There you go. Hello, Porrick. Good afternoon. Good evening to you. Guido Bruce is saying congratulations on 150. Hello, Guido. Good to see you again. Hope you're well. Sandro is saying hello from Italy. Good evening, Sandro in Italy. You're very, very welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. Grab something comfortable to sit on, an armchair or a recliner or a deck chair, whatever you think is comfortable, a couch or a settee. Grab a drink, a brew, or maybe something stronger, a dram perhaps. Mandy is sneezing for Scotland tonight. I've had to take an extra antihistamine yesterday. I was sneezing all over the place. Paul Nethercott is in Indianapolis, Indiana. I can't stay and listen, but we'll find the recording session and listen. Brilliant stuff, Paul. You're very good to pop in, and it's great to see you as always. Cathal O'Cleary says, Giagwich, oh, hi, Wickham. Where is that comment gone? Sasana, and that is, of course, High Wycombe in England. Very good evening to you, Cathal. Trinonawa agus Fáilte Roat. Good G on Laurelin Shu. Yvette Tillema is in the house. Hello, Yvette. Look, I might as well do it now before you ask. This is what I'm reading from A Literary History of Ireland by Douglas Hyde. So there you go. As I know you'll ask. Karen, there's no need for formalities. Call me sir. No, joke. Elaine Dent Lingenfelter is in Texas. Hello, Elaine. Good evening to you. Welcome. Maeve Fiona Callahan is in the house. It's been a while since I've tuned in. Good to be here. And it's a great pleasure for us to have you as our guest in the library this evening. Joseph O'Hirda says Shay the Vaha. Good evening, Joseph. Conasata too. Welcome. Well, that's great. I think that's it so far with the old welcomes. Just making sure I haven't missed anybody on the Mythical Ireland community, and I don't think I have. And so we're on, what is it, 12? Is that 12? I can't, the time isn't on the top left anymore. It used to be up there. Oh, there it is. Aha, 13, right. 13 minutes, number 150. Fast forward to 13 minutes for all the Facebookers and, for all the YouTubers. And Maeve says hello, according to Sandrine. For all the YouTubers, if you're watching this back, this is recorded live. Our series has been from the very beginning of the pandemic in March of 2020. And I grew accustomed to saying hello to everybody to make them feel comfortable and safe in this online environment that we've created. So I hope that you can be patient and just skip forward to when the reading starts, if that's what you're here for. Kerem tells us that he's sitting on his comfy plastic garden chair that he bought from a grocery store. It's covered with fleece blanket, and I'm drinking water. Sounds good. I mean, you know, it's all that I'm missing in that image is the crackling fire under the twilight, under the stars. And if that was the case, Kerem, I would want to see a photograph, you know. Nuala Doyle says hello. Hello, Nuala. Welcome along. Catherine Woodruff is saying hello to everybody. Hello, Catherine. Always a pleasure. Right. Well, sure, look, we'll get started. We don't have any announcements per se. So we'll just get straight into it, shall we? It would have been an idea, I think, I'm just saying, like, it possibly would have been an idea for me to bookmark the chapter. But anyway, I can't believe, like, it's nearly dark outside. It's unbelievable. That's what happens when summer ends and autumn comes in. Some of you may know it as fall. Movanwe Millward is in the house just in time. Looking forward to this special episode, as is Olwen Roy Badziak. To sneaker into the rumors. Two sneakers into the back of the room. That's when the lecture hall is full and the professor has just got up to speak and is just shuffling through his notes carefully, checking that his glass of water is okay, and looks over the rim of his glasses and sees the two tardy ladies in the back. It's okay. It's all right. We don't call people out for being late. Shh, yeah, exactly. And if I was about to deliver a lecture in a packed lecture hall, I wouldn't go, Alwyn, Movanwe, nice of you to join us, finally. Oh, speaking of which, have I any jokes? Yes. I once dated a woman who collected magazines. She had issues. So the thing here is not to laugh and don't encourage me, because if you encourage me, you'll just get more. I wanted to know the other day, Jules' cousins and Fiona Tinker is here as well. Hello to you both. I wanted to know the other day, if a drummer comes out of retirement, will there be repercussions? The Irish Elysium and Belief in Rebirth. And I'm reading from Douglas Hyde's A Literary History of Ireland. Douglas Hyde, if you don't know, was Ireland's first president. He was descended from a Protestant Anglo-Irish planter family, but did probably more than anybody to further the causes of Irish nationalism and Irish language. He was a professor of modern Irish at UCD, and he was a contributor to many publications, including The Irishman, The Nation, and other periodicals. But a brilliant scholar. Next chapter, please, says Tom King. I was down in Lidl this evening, Tom, and an old friend who I hadn't seen for a few years said hello to me, and he always calls me Andrew. and I know instantly, it's like, yeah, some people call me Andrew because it sounds like Anthony, you know. And the first thing he said was, "Oh, I love that thing that's dangling around your neck." And he asked me to tell him what it was. So I told him what it was, and I told him who made it as well. Caesar. We're on, what are we on now? We're on 18 minutes. Right, we better tell them to skip forward to 18 minutes, because if they skip to 13 minutes, they get 5 minutes of crap talk and jokes. Caesar, writing some 50 years before Christ about the Gauls and their druids, tells his countrymen that one of the prime articles which they taught was that men's souls do not die, non interior animas. That's Latin for presumably interior, I presume means burial or death, but passed over. Somebody who's a scholar in Latin can translate that. Non obviously means not, no or doesn't. Animas, I'm thinking of anima as in animated, living, but passed over after death from one into another. And their opinion is, adds Caesar, that this doctrine, quote, greatly tends to the arousing of valor, all fear of death being despised, unquote. A few years later, Diodorus Siculus wrote that one of their doctrines was, quote, that the souls of men are undying, and that after finishing their term of existence, they pass into another body, unquote. Adding that at burials of the dead, some actually cast letters addressed to their departed relatives upon the funeral pile, under the belief that the dead would read them in the next world. Timagenes, a Greek who wrote a history of Gaul now lost, Strabo, Valerius Maximus, Pomponius Mela, and Lucan in his Pharsalia all have passages upon this vivid belief of the Gauls that the soul lived again. This doctrine must also have been current in Britain, where the Druidic teaching was, to use Caesar's phrase, quote, discovered and thence brought into Gaul, unquote. And it would have been curious indeed if Ireland did not share in it. There is, moreover, abundant evidence to show that the doctrine of metempsychosis was perfectly familiar to the pagan Irish, as may be seen in the stories of the births of Cuchulainn, Etain, the two swineherds, Conall Cearnach, Tuan Macaral, and Eid Sláine. So just to recap a little bit, we did feature the story, the tripartite story of Etain. I just can't remember offhand now whether we did that as one or two or three episodes. I suspect it was two, but it might have been three. Let me just quickly see if I can find it on the YouTube channel. Just in case you are only catching up. Yes, The Wooing of Etain Part 1 was episode 21. The Wooing of Etain Parts 2 and 3 were episode 22. So if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see those there. The two swineherds we haven't done, but we will perhaps feature those in an episode. And I plan to do an episode, hopefully next week, about Tuan Macaral, this fascinating descendant and sole survivor of the Partholonian invasion or arrival into Ireland, who, in much the same guise as Fenton MacBocra, is able to transform into different creatures and has survived since the time that the plague killed Partholon and all his descendants. So I hope to tell that one next week as part of our continuing series on this ancient belief in the afterlife. But there is not... Yeah, sorry, there's a reference to Alfred Nutt, N-U-T-T. I've ordered a copy of that book, so it just depends on whether it arrives or not. But we'll see anyway. But there is not in our existing literature any evidence that the belief was ever elevated into a philosophical doctrine of general acceptance, applicable to everyone, still less that there was ever any ethical stress laid upon the belief in rebirth. It is only the mythological element in the belief in metempsychosis which has come down to us, and from which we ascertain that the pagan Irish believed that supernatural beings could become clothed in flesh and blood, could enter into women and be born again, could take different shapes and pass through different stages of existence as fowls, animals, or men. And it should be pointed out, of course, at this juncture, that the mythological tracts, apart from those dealing with the kings from about the time of Cormac MacArt onwards, in other words, the early centuries AD, and the annals, there's very little material that can be soundly dated, and in fact, a great swathe of it is considered by the experts to be pseudo-historical. That, in other words, between them, the kings and the monks concocted a pseudo-history of Ireland. The monks tried to coalesce that with their own biblical timelines and worldview, Christian worldview, while the kings tried to glorify their own lineages and genealogies to magnify their own power as a result. However, as you know, I'm inclined to throw a bit of a hand grenade into the room. by saying that I believe a lot of this mythology goes back much further than we suspect. However, nobody can prove it or disprove it, and that's the difficulty with it. You're dealing with mythology that some of which stretches undoubtedly back into pre-Christian times, but is that the late Iron Age? Does that stretch all the way back into prehistory? Could we say? I think we could, that some of the mythology of Ireland goes all the way back into the Bronze Age, and some of it even to the Stone Age, and some of it even before that. But that is something we've spoken about in many episodes, and who could we convince? Mary Fitzsimons is reminding us that the subtitles are hilarious. To which I might remind you that those are being generated automatically and have absolutely nothing to do with Mythical Ireland. So if they're funny, I'm assuming they're able to translate my perfect diction. But when it comes to Irish words and phrases, I imagine that they'll have difficulty. I suggest you turn off the subtitles and just listen if that's something that you can do. What the actual doctrinal form of the familiar idea was, or how far it influenced the popular mind, we have no means of knowing. And again, with the caveat that the first thing you have to ask in this question is, to what time period are you referring? You can't just say pre-Christian, because that covers the entire era of human habitation of Ireland, stretching from about 7000 BC to the early centuries AD. And the various eras are marked, of course, by influxes of people and changes of not just customs and dress and language, which is important, but also genetics. But as Mr. Nutt well remarks, quote, early Irish religion must have possessed some ritual, and what, in default of an apter term, must be styled philosophical as well as mythological elements. Practically, the latter alone have come down to us, and that in a romantic rather than in a strictly mythical form. Could we judge Greek religion aright if fragments of Apollodorus or the Metamorphoses were all that survived of the literature it inspired? The most that can be said upon the subject, then, is that the doctrine of rebirth was actually taught with a deliberate ethical purpose, that of making men brave, since on being slain in this life, they passed into a new one. Amongst the Celts of Gaul, that it must have been familiar to the Britons, between whose Druids and those of Gaul so close a resemblance subsisted, that the idea of rebirth, which forms part of a half dozen existing Irish sagas, was perfectly familiar to the Irish Gael, although we have no evidence that it was connected with any ritual or taught as a deliberate doctrine. And of course, as with all these things, absence of evidence does not mean evidence of absence. Barbara is telling us that some of the funniest captions are from the beautiful Irish accent. I can imagine. I think the subtitles are on YouTube. Is that right? A few people are asking about subtitles. Oh no, Mary is watching on Facebook. I don't know how to turn the subtitles on. In fact, of course, Karen, go. Yeah, there we go. I'm rewatching. I'm curious now. I want to watch this. I want to watch the captions myself. Auto-generated captions. Yes, on Facebook. On the I can see them here on the. There we go. I'm curious now. I want to watch this. I want to watch the captions myself. Auto-generated captions on Facebook. Yeah, well, I can see them here on the. There we go. And there I am. Yeah, they're actually working. Except for when you say something like "Fáilte go dtí glanabónia I dreichedáha in éireann a nocht," and then they'd go ape. Yes. In reconstructing, captions are unavailable on YouTube, says Jason. Yeah, and it made an absolute hash of trying to reconstruct the Irish. Robin Edgar wonders if it is truly ethical to persuade men that they live on after death in order to persuade them to give up their lives in warfare. Um, we we haven't really dealt with the whole ethics of pre-Christian Ireland. That's something that we could do. We could certainly have a discussion about. And no, it would strike me that it's not very ethical. I agree with Maeve Fianna Callaghan. It didn't spring up suddenly before being recorded, or nor was it entirely invented by monks. A lot of people laughing. Subtitles working, says Sue in California. Glad to hear it. Yes. In reconstructing from our existing literature the beliefs and religion of our ancestors, we can only do so incompletely and with difficulty. From passages in the oldest sagas and other antique fragments, mostly of pagan origin, from allusions in the very early poems, from scanty notices in the annals, and from the lives of early saints. And just to reiterate that, um, if you hear this word pagan being um, uh, uttered and re-uttered and re-uttered, that is because Hyde was writing over 100 years ago, and at that time everything that predated Christianity was considered to be pagan. These days we just say pre-Christian. The relatively rapid conversion of the island to Christianity in the 5th century and the enthusiasm with which the new religion was received militated against any full transmission of pagan belief or custom. We cannot now tell whether all the ancient Irish were imbued with the same religious beliefs, or whether these varied, as they probably did from tribe to tribe. And that's very important. Don't forget that in pre Christian times, Ireland consisted of a lot of smaller kingdoms. And I have no doubt that the beliefs and rituals and practices varied across the country. Probably all the Celtic races, even in their most backward state, believed, so far as they had any persuasion on the subject at all, in the immortality of the soul. Where the souls of the dead went to when they were not reincarnated is not so clear. They certainly believed in a happy other world, peopled by a happy race, whither people were sometimes carried while still alive, and to gain which they either traversed the sea to the northwest, or else entered one of the she mounds, or else again dived beneath the water. And there is a lengthy footnote here for that, which I will read because I think it's interesting. Are we okay? Irish technical thinker is in the house. A wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. Karina wants to know, how do I turn them off? You go back into the settings, the cogwheel, and when you'll see auto-generated captions, and click on the slider to the off position. Oh, hope that works. And that is your IT advice for this evening. Anybody with broken computers, refer them to someone else who's more expert in these matters. In a large collection of nearly 60 folklore stories taken down in Irish from the lips of the peasantry, I find about 5 contain allusions to the belief in another world full of life underwater, and about 4 in a life in the inside of the hills. Don't forget that, as well as being a scholar, um, one of the things that Hyde did was he spoke to peasants and he collected lore. The High Brazil type, and of course we did an episode about High Brazil, that mysterious island out in the Atlantic that's said to appear once every 7 years, that of finding the dead living again on an ocean island is, so far as I have yet collected, quite unrepresented amongst them. Now, that depends, of course, on the geographical location of the people he spoke to, because that story about High Brazil was particularly prevalent in Connemara and Clare and the western and southwestern coasts of Ireland. An old Irish expression for dying is going, quote, to the army of the dead, unquote, used by Deirdre in her lament, and I find a variant of it so late as the beginning of this century in a poem by Raftery, a blind musician of the County Mayo, who tells his countrymen to remember that they must go, quote, to the meadow of the dead, unquote. And that's quoted from Raftery's Orachas in Hyde's Religious Songs of Connacht, page 266. In all cases, however, whatever the mode of access, the result is much the same. A beautiful country is discovered where a happy race, free from care, sickness, and death, spend the smiling hours in simple, sensuous pleasures. Sue Prenter's in the house. Hello, Sue. Welcome along. You're very, very welcome to the library. Yes, indeed, Helen. She did, is right. Yes, bonfires for Halloween. We still do those, don't we? April 30th. Well, the April 30th bonfire would most likely, I think, have been one pertaining to Bealtaine, which is, early May. Well, that's Bealtaine Eve, as it would be celebrated in the modern calendar. Midsummer in Cork, yes, the midsummer fires are still lit in parts of the country, particularly on Tory Island and in parts of Donegal. Well, John's Eve, St. John's Eve on the 23rd of June. So, yeah, I mean, there is an immediate sort of expression of it. And there's so many examples. I mean, the the vast library of material that we've been disseminating on the live streams contains an awful lot in support of this idea that the mythology, as we were saying, is truly ancient. Now I've lost my place. Oh, yes. There is a graphic description of this Elysium in the voyage of Bran, a poem evidently pagan and embodying purely pagan conceptions. Of course, didn't we, a little while back, we did, in at least 2 episodes, if not 3, we did the voyage of Milestone. And there is a footnote for that, which I will also read, because I think this stuff's always interesting. I always read footnotes. I don't know about you guys, but especially when they're at the bottom of the page and not at the back of the book, I do my best to read them. Admirably translated by Kuno Meyer, who says, quote, that there are a large number of word forms in the voyage of Bran, as old as any to be found in the Wurzburg glosses, unquote. And these Professor Thurnyson, that's Rudolf Thurnyson, professor in early Irish philologist, yes, ascribes unhesitatingly to the 7th century. Zimmer also agrees that the piece is not later than the 7th century, that is, was first written down in the 7th century, but this is no criterion of the date of the original composition. You see, I give Kuno Meyer's translation in the original. Foil inish in Netherkane, etc., etc. The modern Irish first 2 lines. Okay, yeah, he's just giving examples in the Irish. Okay. A mysterious female, an emissary from the lovely land, appears in Bran's household one day. When the doors were closed and the house full of chiefs and princes, and no one knew whence she came, and she chanted to them 28 quatrains describing the delights of the pleasant country. And here are, okay, here follows all those verses. Megan, that's a nice comment. Megan, thank you. We're very glad to, as I say, provide that, that space. Glad you're enjoying those. And Mandy, glad you're enjoying the footnotes in the Mythical Ireland publications. I always find footnotes are just rabbit holes that you want to go down if you want to learn more about the mystery, Tarini Pendleton is in the house. Hello to you. Robin Edgar says we have St. John's Eve bonfires in Quebec. So there you go. They're still going on around the world. Excuse me. Riley Flynn wants to know about my grandfather would tell me of good people who lived in the clouds. He was from Mayo. Yeah, well, I know that the Danans were said to have descended from the clouds, but I'm not sure about going back up to them. Interesting. There is a distant isle around which seahorses glisten, a fair course against the white swelling surge. 4 feet uphold it. And of course, this isn't going to rhyme in English because it would have rhymed. It would have rhymed in Irish, and it'd be virtually impossible to make the two rhyme. Feet of white bronze under it, glittering through beautiful ages. Lovely land throughout the world's age, on which the many blossoms drop. An ancient tree there is with blossoms, on which birds call to the hours. 'Tis in harmony, it is their wont. They call together every hour. Let me just judge how much material is still to be read. Unknown is wailing or treachery in the familiar cultivated land. There is nothing rough or harsh, but sweet music striking on the ear. Without grief, without sorrow, without death, without any sickness, without debility, that is the sign of Awan, uncommon and equal marvel. Awan, in this case, I presume being Awan Macha. A beauty of a wondrous land whose aspects are lovely, whose view is a fair country, incomparable in its haze. The sea washes the wave against the land, hair of crystal drops from its mane. Wealth, treasures of every hue are in the gentle land, a beauty of freshness, listening to sweet music, drinking the best of wine. Golden chariots on the sea plain, rising with the tide to the sun, chariots of silver in the plain of sports and of unblemished bronze. At sunrise there will come a fair man illuminating level lands. He rides upon the fair sea washed plain, he stirs the ocean till it is blood. Then they row to the conspicuous stone from which arise 100 strains. It sings a strain unto the host. Through long ages it is not sad. Its music swells with choruses of hundreds. They look for neither decay nor death. There will come happiness with health to the land against which laughter peals. Into Imchuin, the very calm place, at every season will come everlasting joy. It is a day of lasting weather that showers down silver on the land, a pure white cliff in the verge of the sea, which from the sun receives its heat. Mananon, that's the end of it for now. Anyway, there's more explanation before we go to more verses. Who is that? That is Michael Pike. Hello, Michael. And Michael is watching on the Mythical Ireland community. Welcome along. Mananon, the Irish Neptune, driving in a chariot across the sea, which to him was a flowery plain, meets a Bran thereafter, and chants to him 28 more verses about the lovely land of Moymel, the pleasant plain. That's anglicized here to Moymell. And of course, in Irish, that's Maghmell or Meall, Moymel, the pleasant plain, which the unknown lady had described. And they are couched in the same strain. Tom Lawler is in the house. Hello to you. And Eva McCartney is in saying, oh, kind regards from Clan Lamont in NZ. Is that New Zealand? Oh, very good morning to you. Wow, fantastic stuff. And Peter Woods is in the house, working away a lot recently. That's okay. That's a good, very good complaint, actually. All good, Peter. Hope all is well with you. Though but one rider is seen in Moymel of many powers, there are many steeds on its surface, although thou seest them not. A beautiful game, most delightful. They play sitting at the luxurious wine. Sounds great, doesn't it? Men and gentlewomen under a bush, without sin, without crime. A wood with blossom and fruit, on which is the vine's veritable fragrance. A wood without decay, without defect, on which are leaves of golden hue. Sounds lovely. Then, prophesying of the death of Mongon, he sang, he will drink a drink from Loch Low while he looks at the stream of blood. The white hosts will take him under a wheel of clouds to the gathering where there is no sorrow. I know of fewer things in literature comparable to this lovely description. At once so mystic and so sensuous, this is obviously Hyde speaking, of the joys of the other world. Now, this following is beautifully put by Hyde, so I recommend. I'll read it slowly and deliberately, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. To my mind, it breathes the very essence of Celtic glamour, and is shot through and through with the Celtic love of form, beauty, landscape, company, and the society of woman. How exquisite the idea of being transported from this world to an isle around which seahorses glisten, where from trees covered with blossoms the birds call in harmony to the hours, a land whose haze is incomparable. What a touch! Where hair of crystal drops from the mane of the wave as it washes against the land, where the chariots of silver and of bronze assemble on the plain of sports, in the country against which laughter peals, and the day of lasting weather showers silver on the land. And then to play sitting at the luxurious wine, quote, men and gentlewomen under a bush, without sin, without crime, unquote. I verily believe, this is Hyde speaking again, I verily believe there is no Gael alive even now who would not, in his heart of hearts, let drift by him the Elysiums of Virgil, Dante, and Milton to grasp at the moimel of the unknown Irish pagan. I love that. Oh, I think that's superb. I'll read it again. I love it so much. I've got to read it again. I verily believe there is no Gael alive even now who would not, in his heart of hearts, let drift by him the Elysiums of Virgil, Dante, and Milton to grasp at the moimel of the unknown Irish pagan. That is how beautiful moimel appears to be in comparison to the other. Is it Elysiums or Elysia? In another, perhaps equally ancient story, that of the elopement of Connla, son of Conn of the Hundred Battles, and that is Conn Céad Cahach, a very famous king of Tara, and this story is preserved in Laur na Hira, which is our oldest surviving manuscript containing mythological material in Middle Irish. Yes, that of the elopement of Connla, son of the Conn of the Hundred Battles, with a lady who is a denizen of this mysterious land. We find the unknown visitor giving nearly the same account of it as that given to Bran. And I feature this. This is featured in Island of the Setting Sun. I think at the beginning of either chapter 7 or chapter 8, one of the Newgrange chapters. Whence hast thou come, O lady? Said the Druid. I have come, said she, from the lands of the living, in which there is neither death, nor sin, nor strife. We enjoy perpetual feasts without anxiety, and benevolence without contention. Imagine living in a place where there was no anxiety. I mean, even those of you who aren't naturally anxious people, I have suffered with anxiety my whole life, but particularly when I was younger. A large she is where we dwell, so that it is hence we are called the she people. Let me just briefly, if I have it in front of me or behind me, squeaky chair time. Yes. I have to satisfy myself now. Yes, it's chapter 8. New Grange, Womb of the Moon. In one tale, this is from Island of the Setting Sun. In one tale, Conla of the red hair asks a messenger from the Otherworld where she comes from. I come from Tirnamio, the land of the ever-living ones, where no death comes. And I'm pretty sure this is from a translation by Lady Gregory. When Conla's father inquires of the boy who he is speaking to, the woman says, he is speaking to a high woman that death or old age will never come to. I am asking him to come to Moimel, the pleasant plain where the triumphant king is living, and there he will be king forever without sorrow or fret. So that's a different version of it. And let me just further satisfy my curiosity. Is that a Lady Gregory translation? Chapter 8. What was it? Footnote number 6, was it? Forgot to remember. Anthony, yes. Footnote number 6. Gregory. Yes, indeed. That's from Lady Gregory. The Druids appear, as I have already remarked, to have acted as intermediaries between the inhabitants of the Otherworld and of this, and in the story of Conla, one of them chants against the lady, so that her voice was not heard, and he drives her away through his incantation. Donna Ferrer is saying hello. Hello, Donna. Very nice of you to drop in. Brilliant stuff. And Eva McCartney, yes, first to see the sun. Kia ora in New Zealand. Brilliant stuff. Robin, that's a very functional question. How do they enjoy, or do they enjoy perpetual feasts without indigestion, not to mention hangovers? Well, I'm presuming if they've no anxiety and no contention, then they have no indigestion and no hangovers either. She comes back, however, at the end of a month and again summons the prince. "'Tis no lofty seat," she chanted, "upon which sits Conla amid short-lived mortals awaiting fearful death. The ever-living ones invite thee to be the ruler over the men of Tethra." Monica is in Switzerland and is saying hello. Hello, good evening, good night to you, Monica. Welcome along. And Wendy Holmes is in the Hudson Valley. Hello, Wendy. You're very welcome. Where was it? Con of the 100 Battles, who had overheard her speech, cried, "Call me the Druid. I see her tongue has been allowed her today again." But she, invisible to all save the prince, replied to him, "O Con of the 100 Battles, Druidism is not loved, for little has it progressed to honour on the great righteous strand, with its numerous, wondrous, various families." Unquote. After that, she again invites the prince to follow her, saying, "There is another land which it were well to seek. I see the bright sun is descending. Though far off, we shall reach it ere night. 'Tis the land that cheers the mind of every one that turns to me. There is no race in it save only women and maidens." The prince is overcome with longing. He leaps into her well-balanced, gleaming boat of pearl. Those who were left behind upon the strand, quote, saw them dimly as far as the sight of their eyes could reach. They sailed the sea away from them, and from that day to this have not been seen, and it is unknown where they went to, unquote. In the fine story of Cuchulain's sickbed, in which, though the language of the text is not so ancient, the conceptions are equally pagan, the deserted wife of Manannán, the Irish Neptune, falls in love with the human warrior and invites him to the other world, to herself, through the medium of an ambassadress. Cuchulainn sends his charioteer Laeg along with this mysterious ambassadress, that he may bring him word again to what kind of land he is invited. Laeg, when he returns, repeats a glowing account of its beauty, which coincides closely with those given by the ladies who summoned Bran and Connla. And here are a few verses. There are at the western door, in the place where the sun goes down, a stud of steeds of the best of breeds, of the grey and the golden brown. There wave by the eastern door 3 crystal crimson trees, whence the warbling bird all day is heard on the wings of the perfumed breeze. And before the central floor is another of gifts untold, all silvern bright in the warm sunlight, its branches gleam like gold. And of course, that has been made to rhyme in the English. It's still beautiful in the English, isn't it? You know? In the saga of the wooing of Etain, we meet with what is substantially the same description. She is the wife of one of the Tuatha De Danann, is reborn as a mortal, as we saw in the tripartite episodes. Can't remember. Did we say we did 2 episodes? There are 3 parts to the story. Did we do 1 and then 2 and 3 as part of just 2 episodes? I think it was 2. And never mind. I'm waffling. I'll shut up now. She is the wife of one of the Tuatha De Danann, is reborn as a mortal, and weds the king of Ireland. Her former husband, Midger, the aforementioned Tuatha De Danann, still loves her, follows her, and tries to win her back. She is unwilling, and he chants to her this description of the land to which he would lure her. Come back to me, lady, to love and to shine, in the land that was thine in the long ago, where of primrose hue is the golden hair, and the limbs are as fair as the wreathed snow. I'm pretty sure Porragin the Ulachan performed, pardon me, a version of that in song, and that is featured on my video about Douth and the ancestors. Fair lady, come with me. And I'll have to dig that one out. There's a version of this in song by Porragin. To the lakes of delight that no storm may curl, where the teeth are as pearl, the eyes as sloes, which alight whenever they choose to seek, on the bloom of a cheek where the foxglove glows. Each brake is alive with the flowers of spring, whence the merles sing in their shy retreat. Though sweet be the meadows of Inishfoil, that's an old name for Ireland, a poetic name for Ireland, Isle of Destiny, our beautiful vale is far more sweet. Though pleasant the mead be of Inishfoil, more pleasantly the ale of that land of mine. A land of beauty, a land of truth, where youth shall never grow old or pine. Fair rivers brighten the vale divine, there are choicest of wine and of mead therein, and heroes handsome and women fair are in dalliance there without stain or sin. From thence we see, though we be not seen, we know what has been and shall be again. And the cloud that was raised by the first man's fall has concealed us all from the eyes of men. Then come with me, lady, to joys untold, and a circlet of gold on thy head shall be, banquets of milk and of wine most rare. Thou shalt share, O lady, and share with me. Isn't that lovely? The casual Christian allusion in the penultimate verse need not lead us astray, nor does it detract from the essentially pagan character of the rest, for throughout almost the whole of Irish literature are more distinctly or ferociously pagan. For throughout almost the whole of Irish literature, the more distinctly or ferociously pagan any piece is, the more certain it is to have a Christian allusion added at the end as a make-weight. There is great ingenuity displayed in thus turning the pagan legend into a Christian homily by the addition of 2 lines suggesting that if men were not sinful, this beautiful pagan world and the beautiful forms that inhabited it would be visible to the human ken. This was sufficient to disarm any hostility to the legend on the part of the church. And we spoke about that before, didn't we? I did an episode, or was it just a video, or was it a live stream episode about church, the church, the monks and the kings. What was it called? Kings and scribes. That material is going to be in the forthcoming expanded Mythical Ireland book. Religion and politics in the old myths. Yeah. From what we have said, it is evident that the ancient Irish pagans believed in the possibility of rebirth and founded many of their mythical sagas on the doctrine of metempsychosis. And that they had a highly ornate and fully developed belief in a happy otherworld or Elysium, to which living beings were sometimes carried off without going through the forms of death. But it is impossible to say whether rebirth with life in another world, for those whom the gods favoured, was taught as a doctrine, or had any ethical significance attached to it by the Druids of Ireland, as it most undoubtedly had by their cousins, the Druids of Gaul. There you go. See if I can get that music. Bear with me for one moment. Shouldn't take me long to find something like Remembering the Ancestors at Doubt is the name of the video. I'm just
here to remember.
I'm just trying to remember whereabouts in the video that song comes in.
But their monument in for the day that's been. And I remember
that's Porrigine's voice there in the background. Oh, she's fabulous. Just I should mention that at some juncture in the near future, I really would love to do a conversation episode with Porrigine. Perhaps separately to that, we should do an episode about her book, which is a very scholarly and comprehensive look at the people, songs, and traditions of Oriel. And this is a massive work, over 500 pages, a fabulous, brilliant work. Porrigine still speaks the Irish language and is trying to retrieve and save very old stories and music, especially for future generations. I'm just trying to find, is it at the end titles that song comes on? Just can't remember now. Fair lady, when you call me.
I wish they would speak to me. I want them to come back into darkness. To them.
Maybe it's not on that. Maybe it's on the same album. The CD from which those songs, and I'm pretty sure it's on the same CD, was called Songs of the Scribe by Pádraig Ullachán with harpist Helen Davies. Now, there's a website address there. I'm just going to check if it's still active, because that video was made 8 years ago. Wow. Yeah. irishsong.com if you want to see more of Porrigine's work. I'm kind of disappointed now. Oh, I know where it is. It's at the beginning of the Bridges Way video. That's where it is. Let me. Where did you come with me? Yes, it definitely. It's on one of my. I know it is. There you go. Oh, it's just beautiful. I won't play too much if I don't want to breach copyright. But I'd encourage you to get your own copy of Songs of the Scribe and any of Porrigin's work you can get your hands on. It's just fabulous. And the song is called "The Land of Stars." She'll start singing now in a moment.
Fair lady, will you go with me unto the land of stars, where hair is as a primrose flower and skin a snow white rose?
Yeah, it's a variant.
Where you and
it's the same.
I do not exist, where bodies feel no pain, with friends there to delight in us and walk in nature's way. The streams they wet the soft green earth, and the sun forever shines. The people free from strife and war, love knows no guilt or guile. Here where we live together, love, we see and not are seen. The wrong of man divides us now from what was once a dream. The golden leaves on autumn trees and blackbird song we share, though fair the fields of Ireland, none can this land compare. A place of wonder and delight beyond what we have known. Youth never dies before the young.
And that's it. And that's all I can say. What a lovely way to conclude this evening's episode of Live Irish Myths. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Don't forget, if you're looking for a 2022 calendar, the orders are now open. The orders are now available for ordering. The pre-order facility is available on the Mythical Ireland website. That's mythicalireland.com. Go into the shop and gallery and in the calendar section. Very shortly, hopefully this coming week, I will be revealing the pre-sales page for the new edition of Mythical Ireland. I'm just completing that material now. Hopefully that will be published rather soon. And don't forget, as always, that if you'd like to support Mythical Ireland, you can do so you can become a patron and get rewarded for your support, and that is down here along the bottom of the screen, patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. Thank you very much for tuning in this evening. Great pleasure to have you all along, as it always has been since the very beginning of this whole thing. How wonderful it has been, and imagine that we have just completed the 150th episode of Live Irish Myths. We've done about a dozen or so conversation episodes. They will be coming back in the winter, and we've also done, I don't know how many episodes have we done. 15 episodes of book talk, or have we done more? So there's always something to talk about, and may it long continue into the future. May you long enjoy dropping in on us, and may you be safe and healthy and be able to do so. In the meantime, Ikawa, Kolosov, sound sleep. Don't go to sleep if you're in New Zealand. If it's only the beginning of the day, or if you're in the States and it's only the afternoon, don't go to sleep. Kolosov, Slongafol, bye for now. And the most important one, of course, is Toga Bugge. Take it easy. Don't forget to look up Padraigeen, but I will ask her rather soon to come on as a guest because I think she would be absolutely brilliant. You never know, she might perform some of that wonderful music for us. How blessed would we be if that was the case? Thanks and good night. Slán go fóill, Toga Bugge.